market.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah, let's not aim for white collar. Let's just everybody do blue collar. Now, he actually said, cheap student loans keep people out of the labor market, and this is a dangerous spiral. Really? See, in the up is down world view of Tucker Carlson and his economist pal, Peter Moriarty, young people don't get high-paying jobs because the cheap student loan rates that they get allow them to be lazy and move back in with their parents rather than go out and seek more gainful employment. Now, that's crazy enough, okay? But here's what's crazier. That part only came in after a 90-second discussion between the two about how the Affordable Care Act is supposedly forcing employers to restrict available opportunities because of the burden of providing health insurance. The conclusion of all this, apparently, then, is that health insurance reform means there aren't any jobs available. So to force young people to compete harder for whatever jobs are still out there, we need to increase their student loan rates. It's the Hunger Games as applied to economic theory. Really? I cannot imagine the thinking processes behind anybody who supposedly is supposed to know what he's talking about. He's on television. Yeah, of course, so's Honey Boo Boo. There's a thought. It hadn't occurred to me, but okay. Here's a guy thinking that it's much better to burden these young people trying to get a higher education and improve their lives. Much better to burden them with just unbelievable student debt than to give them a break, make it at least affordable. In some worldview, it's affordable in some universe, so that when they get out of college, they have a chance of getting a job, and there aren't a ton of jobs out there, I'll tell you. Economic recovery or not, there are not a ton of jobs out there. So let's burden them with this, incredible rate and keep them paying it back for the next, 40 years. It makes no sense. What an idiot. He actually went on the air and said this. I would be ashamed of myself. I really would. I say help kids out. It's a tough enough world. We've made it tougher with our economy being in the toilet, allowing big business to run amok and unregulated and unsupervised. And they ran with scissors and fell down and poked us in the eye. Yeah. And I don't think we should make our kids pay for that because we were stupid. Call me an idiot. I heard that. What are you going to do? Now, this I found really interesting. I love technology. New technology is fun. But it does make you wonder. Imagine a person holding a gun on his lap, fully visible, while in the same room as President Barack Obama. Now, just picture this, okay? Not going to happen. The equivalent recently happened in Israel when investigative journalists from Channel 10 TV tested government security by slipping a functioning 3D printed gun into the Israeli parliament and into an address by the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I can't say his name for love. Oh. In fact, the journalist got past the security twice with this gun. The Channel 10 journalist printed the gun based on designs from U.S. nonprofit Defense Distributed, and although it contains one metal part, which is a nail that serves as a firing pin, the gun even made it past metal detectors. Now, if you're not aware of this technology, it's absolutely fantastic that, like, your printer sitting on your desk, you type up a letter, you hit print. The machine lays down layers of paint or toner, ink. And that's what puts the printed word on the page that comes out. 3D printers are like something out of science fiction. What they put down isn't ink. What they put down is a plastic polymer. And it builds up every time they make a pass. It builds up a little higher, 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 until finally, and it takes a while, what you're left with is an absolute perfect, three-dimensional object that you programmed it in to print. In this case, a gun of all bizarre things. Now, they did it, like I say, they did it as sort of a test to test the security, which I've got to tell you, if I were anybody in the Israeli parliament, I would be really upset to hear about this. This incident shows that even the Israelis who have developed the sophisticated security procedures due to terrorism threats that they live with day in and day out and have for many, 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 many years, they might not be prepared for plastic 3D printed weapons. As their Brigadier General conceded, this is a new phenomenon that poses a whole new challenge to the security systems in this country and the rest of the world. Now, an Israeli newspaper said that the journalist printed a semi-automatic model called the Liberator, based on digital design by Defense Distributed, which was founded by law student Cody Wilson. Now, Defense Distributed has also produced designs for components of the AR-15 assault rifle, the same type used in the Newtown school massacre in Connecticut in December 2012. Now, although Wilson removed the gun plans from the organization's website at the request of the U.S. Department of Defense, what does that tell you? They're still available on file sharing sites. Yeah. Now, had an actual assassin taken the Liberator into this parliament, he may have had just one shot at his target. A video by Channel 10 filmed at a firing range shows the Liberator's barrel flying off and splitting in two after one shot. The tester, a retired police officer, placed the gun in a vise instead of holding it and activated it remotely by using a string attached to the trigger, which is a pretty intelligent thing to do considering. But if you think about it, even just having one shot, it was enough to kill Lincoln. One shot was enough to kill, Taft. Yeah. It's kind of scary when you think about it. And even though it had a metal pin or a metal nail for the firing pin, it still passed metal detectors. That's kind of scary. Now you look at the other side of this coin, the same coin, 3D printing. In Cleveland, NASA says it has completed a series of test firings on its first rocket engine part made by using 3D printing technology. Custom 3D printers spraying layers of metallic powder using lasers were used to create a rocket engine's fuel injector that underwent several hot fire tests using a mix of liquid oxygen and gaseous hydrogen. Manufacturing this type of injector with traditional processes would take more than a year of manufacturing. But the 3D process produced it in less than 4 months. Wow. NASA's Glenn Research Center in Cleveland conducted the successful test for the Aerojet Rocketdyne. Rocket engine components are complex machine pieces that require significant labor and time to produce. This is according to Tyler Hickman, who led the testing at Glenn. The injector is one of the most expensive components of an engine. Aerojet Rocketdyne officials said the injector represents a significant advancement in the application of 3D printing, also called additive manufacturing. This is amazing, because if that is one of the most expensive components in a rocket engine, because it takes more than a year to manufacture one, and you can cut that down to 4 months, that's going to lower the price, make it easier to get these and manufacture these, and maybe we can actually, have a space agency again. It bothers me that we don't have the shuttles or anything anymore. It really does. I like NASA. Now, I hate injustice. And I'm not so arrogant to say that I'm the person sitting here going, that's an injustice, that's an injustice, that's it. No, I'm not. But I'm also not stupid. And I don't think you are either. The average American is not stupid. Put us in a group, okay, our IQ goes down significantly, but generally speaking, we're not stupid people. Female prison inmates in California were sterilized without state approval in recent years. We're not talking in 1935. This is according to a new report by Center of Investigative Reporting. Doctors in California prisons sterilized nearly 150 female inmates between 2006 and 2010 without state approval according to a report. Now, the Center for Investigative Reporting revealed that doctors at 2 women's prisons in California sterilized 148 women between 2006 and 2010 after they gave birth, with as many as 100 more in the years before that and without following proper procedures. California, which has a long history of forced sterilization, banned the procedure in state prisons in 1979. Because of the state's grim history, a number of laws were put in place, including the state-funded tubal ligations, having your tubes tied, be approved by a medical review committee, and that inmates must give consent. Because of this, it would be illegal to pressure a female inmate to agree to the procedure while she's going through labor or in childbirth. But former inmates at the California Institution for Women in Corona and the Valley State Prison for Women in Chowchilla claimed they were pressured to undergo the procedure while they were pregnant and in prison. Doctors allegedly targeted inmates they thought were likely to be repeat offenders or already had many children. According to former Valley State inmate Christina Cordero, 34, the institution's OBGYN doctor pressured her to have a tubal ligation. As soon as he found out I had 5 kids, he suggested I look into getting it done. The closer I got to my due date, the more he talked about it. He made me feel like a bad mother if I didn't do it. Cordero, who spent 2 years in prison for auto theft, agreed, but said, "Today, I wish I'd never done it." Now, it's really easy to make a snap decision or snap judgment and say, here's a woman, she's got 5 kids, doing 2 years in prison for auto theft, maybe not Mother of the Year material. What's it going to hurt? In the long run, it might do some good. The bottom line, and I would say this to the doctors in these California prisons, you're not the one to decide this. It absolutely drives me nuts every time I hear a story like this, where someone, somewhere, has taken it upon themselves to pass judgment on another human being and play God with their lives. I don't know. Maybe that's why I have the views that I have regarding abortion. I don't like it. I don't. But I'm not the person qualified to pass judgment on another human being's life. Where do they get off? It's enough to make you wonder. I wonder. I wonder about a lot of things. I really do. But I think if the day you stop wondering, that's a day the bad guys win. Because that's a day they get to pull something and nobody pays any attention. Nobody wonders, why are they doing that? Why is that like that? We need to wonder, all of us, frequently. Now, everybody in the country, everybody who doesn't know that in the United States of America, we have a law that says all public buildings must be handicapped accessible. If you don't know that, raise your hand. Yeah, I didn't think so. Everybody knows this. Well, in Savannah, Georgia, a Maritime Museum has issued an apology after a Charlotte family says their disabled daughter was denied access because her wheelchair would, quote, get the carpets dirty, unquote. Yeah, denied access to the museum because her wheelchair wheels would get the carpets dirty. Yeah. Now, Dr. Ken Haas says his family, including 11-year-old Lexi, was in Savannah over the weekend when they were told they wouldn't be able to bring Lexi's wheelchair into the Ships of the Sea Museum on Sunday. Lexi suffers from kernicterus, there we go, a bilirubin-induced brain dysfunction which has left her physically non-functional. The bilirubin accumulates in the gray matter of the central nervous system, potentially causing irreversible neurological damage. Haas says his wife lived in Savannah for a short time and the family had done research online and knew that due to limitations, it might be difficult for Lexi to be able to visit the museum, which is housed in a historic home. But he says the reasons they were kept out didn't make any sense. Haas said a woman at the front desk of the museum said the family couldn't bring in their wheelchair because it would get the carpets dirty. They then offered to let Lexi use a wheelchair that the museum owns. Haas says Lexi, who can't sit up on her own, was not able to use the museum's wheelchair because it didn't have straps that Lexi needs. The museum then offered to have Lexi sit outside and watch a video on a tiny TV while the rest of us walked through the exhibits. How sweet. Yeah. Museum curator Wendy Melton admits that the family was told this, but says it was not the museum's policy. Melton says she spoke with the employee who misunderstood what the museum's wheelchair policies are. She says the museum offers a wheelchair to people who need it, but no one is required to use it. Now, with prior notice, the museum will make a Dawson available to a guest with a disability to provide introduction to the collection. It's also sweet. It's also nice. They're so kind. The bottom line is, and think about this, people. Think about this. They show up out of the blue, like people do to a museum. They happen to have a severely disabled daughter. The woman at the front desk says they can't bring her daughter in because her wheelchair will make the carpets dirty. I don't care if that's the policy or not. I guarantee you that's what they've been telling people for a long time. Or the woman would not have just rattled that off. It's very easy for the museum curator to come back later and say, well, that's not our policy, and she spoke out of turn and all that. No, I don't believe it for a second. It may not be policy, but it's accepted procedure. That's what I know. No. Just, it's wrong. It's wrong. I just wonder about people sometimes. I really do. And no, wheelchairs are not one size fits all. I guarantee you that. Absolutely. Not a bit of good news, and I was actually thrilled to hear this. Shark fishing and shark finning is responsible for the shockingly steep decline in the populations of our ocean's apex predators, as much as 99% drop among several species. 99% because of us. Because of us. Sharks are a vital part of the marine ecosystems and are disappearing throughout the world's ocean as they are caught and actively fished, most cruelly finned. Now, finning a shark is where they go, and it's usually Asian countries that are doing this. They catch a shark, they cut the fins off, and then they dump the shark's body back into the ocean to bleed to death or be, killed by something they can't defend against. Yeah. Thankfully, governments around the globe are picking up on the problem, and many are instituting stricter regulations or outright banning fins and the practice of finning. The latest news is a big victory for these important animals. The European Union, the EU, officially adopted a strict ban on finning of sharks late last week. I'm tickled. It was really bad, when Jaws came out. Everyone before Jaws knew about sharks. Everyone was kind of scared of the idea of, there are sharks out there. Yeah, but you never see them. Hardly ever. Then Jaws came out. People panicked. People were terrified. This fed people's worst nightmares. Okay? We have people, after Jaws came out, hordes of people went out doing nothing but hunting down sharks and killing them because they're dangerous. They're looking to eat us. Didn't you see the movie? And you think I'm being facetious, but it got so bad that even Peter Benchley, who wrote Jaws, years later said he regretted writing Jaws because of the backlash.
Yes, absolutely did. It was scary because, it caused such a scare amongst everybody, but at that time, so little was known about the actual behavior and importance of these animals in our oceans.
Absolutely. People didn't even know at the time this was going on how many of them there were.
Exactly. And we still find new species all the time.
Oh, yeah. And some of them are really bizarre, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
But I was so tickled to hear this. Saturday ended nearly a decade of battle to close several enforcement loopholes that had permitted some forms of shark finning. Now, finning has technically been prohibited in the EU since 2003, but an exemption allowed member states to issue special permits for fishing vessels to remove shark fins on board. In particular, an exemption used by Spain and Portugal allowed some vessels to remove shark's fin at sea, which made it nearly impossible to detect and monitor the finning that was actually occurring. Somewhere between 80 million to 100 million sharks are killed every year. 80 to 100 million every year. I don't know a species of anything that could survive that outside of maybe ants, and that's pushing it. 80 to 100 million a year. Primarily, they are a bycatch, or they're caught for their fins, which is used in a traditional Asian soup, though it adds zero flavor and zero nutritional value, and instead poses a health risk as it contains heavy metals and toxins accumulated in the animals that dine high on the food chain. At the rate at which sharks are being fished, we can expect global population crashes within a handful of decades, which has severe repercussions for the marine ecosystems that depend on these predators. At long last, the EU has a real and enforceable ban on shark finning, with global implications across the world. I almost did a jig. I really did. I almost danced a jig. I was so glad to hear that. My goal now, my hope, my wish, my please, is for all countries to recognize a ban on whaling. There is no appreciable reason or value to whaling. Now, I understand like Eskimos, Inuit tribes, certain Indian tribes who come out and say, well, culturally, that's part of their culture. They would hunt whale, come back and feed the tribe and the village and whatnot, and that's great. But I'll tell you something. I say if you want to let them honor their cultural traditions, terrific. But do it like your cultural ancestors did it. No high-powered motorboats. No high-powered harpoons. You go out and do it like your ancestors did it. In a little canoe with 2 or 3 of your best buddies, and you go whale hunting. And you catch a whale, you bring it back, you cut it. They even do that. I saw this on a documentary that covered whale hunting, where an Inuit tribe went out and they caught a whale, and it was really very exciting, and I was really happy for them. And they brought it back to the village, and they cut it up, and they tried to pass it out to the village, and everyone in the village said, "Are you kidding? We don't eat that crap." Really? Did nobody know this before they went out and killed this whale? Apparently not. It just boggled my brain right there. It just did. But we need to get the countries, primarily Asian countries, to agree to and honor a whaling ban, because we're losing them. And it's my personal opinion, and it's still the United States of America, so I don't know, I'm allowed to have one. It's my opinion that whales are some of the most intelligent creatures on the face of the planet. I think in some ways they might even rival us. And to go out and just kill them for what? There's nothing we ever got from a whale. No product, no byproduct, nothing that we cannot today, and for a long time now, manufacture artificially, cheaper, cleaner, without loss of whale life, if you will. There's no reason for it. But they're still doing it. You ever watch that TV show where the guys in the boats go up against the whalers and try to stop them?
Yes.
I hardly ever watch it because I can't watch stuff like that. It just really gets to me.
Right.
But I believe that Greenpeace, some of them are Greenpeace, but there's also other organizations that specifically target whaler ships. And I got to tell you, these guys, they're serious. They play for big stakes. They will run their boats over the little boats and say, "Hey, yeah." Well, I'll tell you what, I hope you all had a great time. We will see you. Stay tuned for Outlaw Radio Network with K-Dog and St. Paul, the voice of reason. And I'll be back here next Sunday. Join me. Bye-bye.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Barbara Klein.
Zimmerman should do the time. Murder is a crime.
This chant at a rally in Sanford, Florida, is echoing at demonstrations and vigils across the country today. As NPR's Greg Allen reports from Sanford, its reaction to last night's verdict by a Florida jury that George Zimmerman is not guilty on charges of murder and manslaughter in the shooting death of Trayvon Martin.
Zimmerman hasn't been seen in public since he left the courtroom Saturday night, a free man for the first time in more than 16 months. Among supporters of the Martin family, the not guilty verdict has sparked emotions ranging from disappointment to outrage. On CNN, George Zimmerman's brother, Robert Zimmerman Jr., says he still fears for his safety.
He's a free man in the eyes of the court, but he's going to be looking around his shoulder for the rest of his life.
Hundreds of thousands of people have already signed a petition asking for the Justice Department to launch a civil rights investigation of Zimmerman. The Justice Department has been looking at the case for more than a year and says it will determine whether a civil rights prosecution is called for. Greg Allen, NPR News, Sanford, Florida.
Another deadly day in Iraq. A wave of bombings in several mainly Shiite provinces killed at least 24 people. The blasts went off shortly before the evening meal that ends the day-long fast during Islam's holy month of Ramadan. The largest explosion was in the southern city of Basra, near a political party headquarters. Egypt's military chief is speaking out for the first time since the country's armed forces overthrew President Mohamed Morsi, saying the armed forces acted according to the will of the people because the former Islamist government stumbled. Meanwhile, NPR's Leila Fadel reports Egyptian prosecutors have ordered the assets of 14 Muslim Brotherhood and Islamist leaders to be frozen.
The order was issued against the head of the Muslim Brotherhood from which the ousted president hails, but it also will freeze the funds of other top leaders, including the deputy head of the Brotherhood, the head of the political wing, and some Salafi leaders. Egypt's ousted president, Mohamed Morsi, is still being detained along with his top aides. He has so far been charged with no crime. Arrest warrants are out for about 10 others in the Muslim Brotherhood leadership, and most of them are camped outside a Cairo mosque with supporters of the ousted president. Since Morsi's overthrow by the military after millions took to the streets to reject his rule, the nation has been deeply polarized. Muslim Brotherhood leaders say they are the victim of a witch hunt. This as the caretaker prime minister finalizes his choices for an interim cabinet until new elections take place sometime next year. Leila Fadel, NPR News, Cairo.
A lead actor on the TV musical drama Glee is dead. The body of Corey Monteith, who played Finn Hudson on the Fox series, was found yesterday in a hotel room in Vancouver. Police say there's no evidence of foul play. The 31-year-old actor and singer voluntarily went to rehab in April for substance abuse. This is NPR. French rail officials say the death toll in Friday's train derailment and crash outside Paris remains at 6, while investigators continue to focus on a faulty track as the possible cause of the accident. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley has the latest from the French capital.
Officials said no more bodies were found after giant cranes worked through the night to remove the overturned cars from the tracks at Bretigny-sur-Orge, an hour south of Paris. The accident in the middle of rush hour Friday shocked the country on the eve of the Bastille Day weekend. As the investigation into the accident begins, questions are being asked about the level of investment in rail infrastructure in France. The French are proud of their extensive passenger rail system, but critics say the state has spent too heavily on high-speed rail to the detriment of classic rail. Speaking at traditional Bastille celebrations today, President François Hollande promised more investments in the country's classic inner-city rail network. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
Gas prices are holding fairly steady on a very slight downward trend, according to industry analyst Trilby Lundberg.
Gasoline prices slipped about a penny over the past 3 weeks. The new average is $3.59 for regular. The price is down nearly 7 cents over the past 8 weeks.
But Lundberg says the decline isn't likely to last long. Crude oil price hikes have already made their way into wholesale gasoline markets, and they're likely to hit consumers soon. A serious injury on this last day of Spain's Running of the Bulls festival. A 23-year-old Australian woman was gored in the chest as bulls chased thrill-seekers down the cobbled streets of Pamplona. She is listed in very serious condition. An American was injured yesterday. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
The Legacy Group in Silverdale is a well-respected independent mortgage banker, absolutely committed to helping Kitsap County families on their path to home ownership. As an employee-owned company, the Legacy Group has a strong stake in your success, and they want to be your lifetime partner in helping you develop a strong real estate portfolio. Call the Legacy Group in Silverdale today at 698-6440 and find out how they can help you get started on the road to home ownership. 698-6440 for the Legacy Group, a lending experience that's a little different and a lot smarter. Rachel's on the East Side boasts a full menu, including pasta and sandwiches. Plus, Rachel's has got the best pizza in all of Bremerton. And while the weather's nice, enjoy a great night at Rachel's by enjoying their outdoor seating area. Rachel's on the East Side, conveniently located at 1217 Silverway in Bremerton. Rachel's is even open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. So whether it's a romantic night out or a family outing, enjoy the best food on the Kitsap Peninsula at Rachel's on the East Side.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. Let me tell you why I say that I am not your average photographer. At Elaine Terso Photography, I can handle all of your photography needs, including weddings, families, and newborns. I have an in-home studio, or I am able to come to you to take photos wherever you want to be. Mention Guardian Broadcasting when you book, and I will give you a 10% discount. For more information, visit me online at ElaineTersoPhotography.com or find me on Facebook.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Getting married, entertaining clients, or maybe you're just having a bash with your friends. No matter the occasion, make sure you plug into the tunes with E&M Entertainment. There are tons of DJs out there, but how many of them want to get to know you beforehand so they can play your soundtrack at your event at your kind of price? It's more than just a great selection. E&M plays your great selection, and that makes all the difference. So call 425-971-8078. That's 425-971-8078 for E&M Entertainment.
Judy's Sewing in East Bremerton is your one-stop shop for all your sewing, alteration, and clothing repair need. At Judy's Sewing, you can also find tuxedo rentals and bridal party dresses for only $69 and bride's dresses starting at $189. Judy's Sewing at the corner of Fairgrounds Road and Central Valley in East Bremerton, near Handy Andy's, or call Judy at 360-662-1212. That's right, 360-662-1212 for Judy Sewing.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.